my journey is very unconventional, but there's a lot of beauty in having an unconventional journey. So that's why I'm going to speak today. So feel free to subscribe to my channel, share this with your friends, and I hope that this inspires someone else. All right, let's go. Hello, my name is Bre'anca Sanders. I am a third-year medical student, and I am making this video today just to share my story, and I hope that it inspires others who consider medicine to actually pursue medicine. So first, I'd like to start by saying that I am a non-traditional student. For those who don't know what non-traditional means, it means that you took a few years off. You took some gap years, right? So that's basically what makes a non-traditional student. You didn't go straight from undergrad into medical school. So that is definitely my case. I actually had 10 years difference between my undergraduate graduation to the moment I started medical school. I did all types of different things throughout that time. I mostly pursued artistry through music as well as acting. I worked for FEMA for a little bit of time and definitely learned a lot throughout those years about myself and what I really want to do in life. And I'm really glad I did that. So to speak more as to why I'm considered non-traditional, I'm also a mother. So I'm a single mother. I'm a woman. I'm also a woman of color. I come from a family where, I've known individuals in my family who have become nurses, who've worked mostly in education and the government, military, but I don't have anyone in my family that I know of personally who is a doctor. So I will be the first one in my family. And I think that's really important to share this information on such a platform, just simply because a lot of students think that simply, I don't have anyone in my family who's done this, I can't do this, and that is not the case at all. So I'm going to share some more information with you all as to why it's important that you are different. So before I started medical school, I did different things. I actually can say that I worked in retail, right? Because I decided to pursue a second degree after I got my bachelor's. So I worked in retail part-time. I worked at Abercrombie. I can't talk in my braces, see? It's difficult. So I worked at Abercrombie for a little bit of time while I was attending school to pursue audio engineering. And working there is really fun because I worked at the location in West Hollywood area called the Grove. I had like a little mind blank there. So it was called the Grove. So working at the Grove was really fun. It was like a 3-story store, very huge. We would see celebrities from time to time. I actually missed Johnny Depp one day. I was off that day. So it was kind of cool working there at that location. Outside of that, I also sold cars for a little bit. And I think that was like my breaking point where I was like, you know what? I don't think I want to do sales anymore. This is just not for me. I just didn't feel right selling people things that they didn't really need, or maybe they needed a car, but they couldn't really afford that particular car. So I wanted to do something that was actually going to make a positive impact on individuals. And I actually decided to change my direction. And I did background acting for a little bit, which was really great. So I did background acting in different shows such as Big Little Lies. I did a scene for Roadies. It used to be on Showtime, I believe. I even did a scene for, I'm trying to think, what was the name of it? It was Issa Rae, I'm sorry. There's a show with Issa Rae called, when I think of it, I'll come back to it. So I did background for that. Big Little Lies was the show I did. Big Little Lies was the show that I was doing background probably for the most. It was like 2 weeks straight, 5 p.m. actually to 5 a.m. So that was really great. And I met some really cool people on that set. Outside of that, I also work for FEMA, which is the Federal Emergency Management Agency. That was such a great experience. I made lots of great friends there, some relationships I still keep to this day. It was such a beautiful experience, and it really inspired me to do something else with my career. I knew that job was temporary in itself, and at the time I was pregnant, and I couldn't continue on with the company because the job I would have accepted would have required me to travel a lot. And that's not really possible being a mom with a baby. So I had to do some deep thinking and some introspective reflection. So I actually want to talk about why I decided to go into medicine in the first place. So it actually all started when I was in high school. I went to high school in a suburban Illinois. It's like North Shore, Illinois. I was there because my mom was in the military, and so I was a military brat. And our base was actually located in North Shore, Chicago. And, you know, it was a really great experience just being in that area. It was a very diverse population in Chicago, which was really great. But during my junior year, I noticed I was having difficulties with staying awake in class, particularly my French class. Anyone who knows me from my French class, they'll tell you for sure, anytime we turned the lights off, I was out cold. I would just fall asleep and I couldn't help it. And I was, wondering like, why am I falling asleep all the time in class? Why am I always tired? I'm a teenager. I shouldn't be this tired. And I definitely felt like I was more irritable than usual. So I kept bugging my mom to take me to the doctor. The first time she took me, the doctor thought like maybe she's just, just a normal teenager going through hormonal changes and, this could just be normal. And so we left and I kept feeling just not myself. I was like, you know what? Whatever's going on, I still don't feel right. And my mom took me back again. And so when I went back again, they realized, okay, something's definitely kind of off because they did some labs that time. And the labs showed that I had a thyroid issue. So my thyroid was functioning really low. Normally, your thyroid should, keep your metabolism at a good level. You should have normal energy levels. Mine weren't normal. So I learned that by going into the doctor a second time. And so I thought it was really amazing that they could figure out what was going on with me internally through, at the time to me it was abstract practices or abstract techniques, which was lab work. And so that kind of inspired me to consider medicine. I didn't know how I was going to do it. And I didn't really share it with anyone just because I was afraid of judgment. I wasn't, I didn't know what to think. I didn't know anyone who was a doctor in my family. I met one physician at one point in my life who was Black, African, but never any other point in my life have I met anyone of color who was a physician. And so the whole concept was new to me. But the great thing that came out of that, I actually wrote about my experience and my diagnosis in my personal statement when I applied for college. And I think because it was so heartfelt, it definitely resonated with a lot of individuals. And so that helped me, land the college of my dreams. I didn't go to the college of my dreams, but it did help me get to where I wanted to be. So got into the college of my dreams, got the financial aid package, and realized I don't really want to go there anymore because it was too expensive. It was a school on the East Coast, really well known university. I was so set on going there, and then I saw that financial aid package and it definitely changed my direction. And I think it worked out for the better. I always say that everything happens for a reason in a sense, and I definitely think that was one of those things that happened for a reason. So there was another school that I was looking at that was on the West Coast. It was Scripps College, and I remember, being really moved by the description of the school itself, the things that they were proud of, and just the environment that they seem to promote. I was like, that sounds like something that I would be interested in, like a place that I might thrive in. And so I ended up going there instead. And Scripps is an all-women's college in California. I loved my experience there. I definitely, talk about it as much as I can. Sometimes someone knows what the school is. Sometimes people don't know. So it's great when I find someone who knows what the school is. So I ended up going there. When I got there at first, I was like, you know what? I'm going to take these science classes. I'm going to pursue medicine. And, I took 2 bio courses. And I'll be honest, I was like, I want to pursue medicine, but I also liked environmental science too. So I liked both. But I was still, pretty sure I was going to do science. Because I remember my biology teacher in high school said I should definitely pursue something in the sciences because I had a natural knack for it. And I thought that was really great, to be motivated by your own science teacher So yeah, I started that route, got my grades back for my first two biology courses. I had a C in one and a C minus in another. And considering my personality, I was like, oh no, this cannot fly. I don't know what a C is. Like, what is a C, right? I was so used to getting A's and B's in high school, elementary. I've always been like a really great student, and so I could not fathom seeing another C on my report card. So I definitely changed majors because of that. I didn't want my transcript to look any different than what it already looked like. So yeah, I didn't really know how to go about the whole pre-med journey in my undergrad years because, like I said, I didn't really express my desire to pursue medicine with my family. I don't think I conveyed it clear enough with the individuals at my college, and that was partially on me. Um, so it kind of left me at a disadvantage, not being confident enough to share my desire to pursue medicine. So the moral of the story is, even if you're not sure you can do it, definitely express the things that you're thinking about doing with someone who can help you, right? That can be advisors at your school. I really wish I would have, sat down with that advisor and say, hey, I'm considering medicine. What should I do? And yeah, I just think that doubt I had in the back of my mind, the fact that I wouldn't even share it with my family just because I thought, there aren't that many minorities in medicine, and so I think I kind of psyched myself out, to be honest. And so because biology wasn't going the way I wanted it to, I was like, you know what, let's go to something that feels familiar, that feels comfortable. And for me, that was actually French. I took French in high school. I really loved it. I ended up taking honors French after my first year in high school. And so there I was in college. I was like, you know what? I'm going to do French. I enjoyed it. I really love learning foreign languages. And so I went that path. And so that was really great for me, actually, because, like I said, I had that issue with always feeling doubt, not really feeling too confident in myself. And so that actually led me to studying abroad in Paris, France for 6 months. And it was a really great experience. So if you have an opportunity to study abroad, I would definitely highly recommend. That experience definitely changed me. It made me more confident in myself as a woman, as an individual. I learned to not be afraid to speak up. And that was something I would say that my undergrad instilled a lot in the students there. So I do find that when I'm in settings, I sometimes may ask a lot of questions or talk a lot compared to most people, but I think it's just really coming from that education and the environment that they created to make women feel very empowered and able to share their opinions and their emotions and their thoughts. And so I was very appreciative of that foundation before going to Paris. And then I came back and realized I want to do something artistic. I've always had a desire to pursue something related to music or dance. I actually did the Barrow dance team in undergrad, and that was amazing. So when I finished my undergraduate degree, I actually applied for a program in audio engineering. It was located in Hollywood, and that was really cool because I kind of went from being in an all-women's environment to what seemed to be mostly an all-male environment. There weren't many women that went to the audio engineering school. So it was lots of fun to be in something completely different than liberal arts. And actually, I have to say, designing sound is so much fun. It's kind of addictive. To give you an example, we had a competition in one of my classes at the audio engineering school. Basically, they gave us a sine wave, one cycle of a sine wave, and they wanted us to design a sound design project, or we could create music with it. It had to be at least 1 minute long. So I actually made my project 5 minutes long, and it took me 25 hours. I estimate about 24 hours to make that 5 minute clip, but it was definitely worth it. It was so much fun. I think it's really good to work in different environments with different people, and you can learn so much about other individuals. And I realized some of the some of the best doctors out there are doctors who've had non-traditional backgrounds. And not to say those who are traditional are not great doctors, but there's just something a little bit different that's brought to the table by non-traditional students and not non-traditional doctors, right? You get a chance to connect with patients on a different level. And so all those experiences that I had prior to actually entering medical school, I think served me greatly. So something else I want to talk about is community college. So I took my prereqs in community college because, like I said, I only took 2 science courses in my undergrad. Didn't have enough to apply to medical school. Went to a local community college, took all my undergraduate science courses to help my science GPA. So when I attended community college to take science courses or pre-med courses, I was actually a mother at the time. I was a single mother, a new mom. My daughter was literally like 3 months when I went back. So at first, the thought of going back to school was a little daunting, a little scary, but at the same time, I was very excited because I realized, I don't want to do retail anymore. Like I said, my FEMA job wasn't an option just because I needed to be there for my daughter. And community college was definitely a route to go because not only did I still get the credits I needed to apply to medical school, I also saved a lot of money. When I first moved to Arizona, when you go to like a state school, even community college, there's in-state versus out-state tuition. And so the first year I had to pay out-of-state tuition, and it was like 3 times the amount it would have been if I was in-state. So I took, I think, maybe like 2 or 3 courses with the in-state tuition, with the out-of-state tuition fees, and then after that year, I was able to establish residency and get in-state tuition rates, which is great. It was so amazing. Going to community college for your prereqs is not the end of the world. So what I did was basically my own custom postbacc. Some individuals go to a postbacc to raise their science GPA if they don't have a strong one from undergrad. I didn't want to do that route because, like I said, it's expensive. A lot of postbacc programs weren't going to be located in Arizona, which is where I had my support at the time. So it wasn't feasible for me to do that. But what worked out for me was actually community college because I could custom design my schedule for my needs and also still be a great mother at the same time, which was really amazing. So I did that. I even got a couple of scholarships when I was at community college, made a lot of great relationships and connections with professors who I still, chat with every now and then to this day. I was able to do research projects with the professors at the community college to the point where I was able to present one of my research pieces at a local conference. For a research conference, which was really great. And it was nice to put that on my resume for medical school applications. So would I say that community college is the best option for everyone? Probably not, right? I think for me it worked out because I didn't have many science courses already on my transcript. So, that was the first time I was taking everything and I did it pretty compactly. I tried to take at least 3 courses, 3 to 4 courses at once, tried to stay a full-time student to show that I could handle the course load as well. Another thing to know, if you are going to retake any courses that you didn't do so well in, check with the university you're going to apply at. You can just check with one if you want to. I know I did. I reached out and said, hey, I'm planning on applying to this particular program. It was actually a bridge program where you do like a 1-year master's and then you start medical school. And I asked if I retake a course that's already on my transcript from many years ago to get a higher grade, would that replace the grade or would that just be added to the average of all my science courses? And I was told straight out that it would not replace my original grade. It would just be added to the average. So just think about that too when you're deciding to take courses or retake courses. Just think about the impact. And I also want to emphasize why being a full-time student is very important. For me, I was very grateful that I had the support I needed to be full-time as a student. Because I know a lot of individuals who may not have that support and have to do their courses part-time. That's perfectly fine too. I think what the schools are looking for is more so perseverance, grit, and just the ability to persevere as much as you can, despite the odds, right? And of course, you want to take care of your basic needs, but you do want to show that you can handle the coursework that comes along with medical school. So the reason, I'm saying full time, I was like, I'm not going to be the traditional student at all. I wanted to show them that I could do what I need to do to be successful in medical school. And, I already took so many years off. My undergraduate degree was in a foreign language. I'm a mom. I'm taking my prereqs at community college, so that's why I definitely took on a full load. I also did research. I also worked as a tutor. I did volunteering, internships, anything you name it. You name it. I was doing those things to show that I was able to have a balance between being a mother and also being a really great applicant, a really great student and physician. So another advantage of going to a community college, at least for me, was that I was able to build more intimate relationships with my professors. And so your professors know you by name and you're going to office hours, you're, signing up for research. And one of my scholarships actually required me to do some type of research project every semester. So that enabled me to build even better relationship with some of my professors because I had to fulfill that requirement. So I became really active on campus because of that, and building those connections and relationships with my professors helped me get really good letters of recommendation. You want to get a professor who knows you pretty well if you're getting an academic letter of recommendation. And I know it's more difficult at the bigger universities, but one way you can overcome that is by attending office hours. Try your best to attend office hours. Even if you're meeting with the TA, attend the TA office hours as much as possible and communicate with the TA maybe after 2 or 3 sessions that, hey, I'm really looking to apply to medical school. Is there any way that, this particular professor could write me a letter of recommendation, or, could you speak with them and see if there's anything, I can do, or do you have any tips, right? So just try to be very authentic, let people know where you stand, what your goals are, and not everyone's going to say yes, and that's okay. But if you never communicate those things, the answer will always be no, right? Or actually, it won't even be no. You won't even know what the answer could be. So definitely communicate your goals clearly. Sometimes I think it's more difficult if you're a student who's never been to office hours and you walk in one day and you say, hey, can I get a letter of recommendation? And let's say they might remember you maybe just from seeing your face in class, but especially if you're not a student who participates a lot, it may be a little more difficult for them to find something compelling to write about you. So networking is a big factor when it comes to, applying to medical school. Even once you're in medical school, networking is a really big factor. And I also want to share that I was able to get a letter of recommendation from a professor from my undergrad. Even though it had been years since she's seen me or heard from me, I still was like, let me reach out. First, I reached out to my old advisor, right? And I was hoping he was still there. He actually had retired. So I was grateful that he replied to his email. And he's like, oh, I'm actually retired now. So I was like, okay, thank you. And I reached out to a professor who had helped me write a CV for an internship that I did in Paris, France. And I was just hoping that maybe she was still there and she would help me. And she remembered me, because I believe I took 2 courses with her and asked for help with the CV. And so she was very kind to write me a letter of recommendation. She's like literally the sweetest person in the world. I should probably email her right after this. So yeah, I was very grateful for that. So it helped, I think, in my case, to have a letter from my old undergrad college, and then also from the community college. And I also got a letter of recommendation from my manager when I was a tutor at the community college. I tutored for about, I want to say like 1.5 or 2 years there. I tutored biology and chemistry. OChem rarely, I got a B and an A in OChem in both classes, but I wasn't confident enough to try to teach anyone else. But general chemistry, that was my jam. I loved it. So those are some tips in terms of letters of recommendation. And I do want to say, sometimes you do have to follow up. Don't feel like you're bugging someone. I mean, definitely don't email someone like 5 times in one day. But, if you know the deadline's coming up, you emailed them already, you give them like a month, but do it early. Request the letters of recommendation early, like maybe months before the medical school applications open, so that way they have ample time to do it. And then, let's say you're still waiting on your letters, when June comes, just send them an email and say, hey, I'm just curious, did you get to that letter of recommendation? I hope you're doing well. And, just casual, just checking every now and then, right? And sometimes professors get busy. Long story short, clearly I'm in medical school, right? And I already told you I got into the school that I did the bridge program at. So yeah, I sent my application in. I heard back for an interview and I was like, oh my God, they actually like me. Oh my God. So, so for me, that was actually amazing just to, get some type of like reception, because I just wasn't sure, that year was such a crazy year in general. A lot was changing last minute. And just because my timeline wasn't what I originally planned, you know, the feeling of uncertainty is not a good feeling. And so I wasn't feeling the most confident about that cycle. So it was really nice to get the invitation to do an interview. I did do an interview at a medical school as well in California, which is really great. Unfortunately, I got like waitlisted for a couple schools for interviews. And this is why I hone on students to send their applications in early. I literally thought to myself, if I would have sent my application in early, I would have definitely got an interview at those like couple other schools that reached out to me and not have been like waitlisted, right, for an interview. So just something to think about. But I was really happy with the interview I got with the medical school in California because it was definitely on my top list of schools. They had a really great program that covered your full tuition as well as all your expenses, your living expenses. And it's California, you got the beach, you can't go wrong. But I was very grateful for getting into the school that I got into. I had a guaranteed acceptance. And basically the way that the program that I went to for my bridge program worked, as long as you passed all your courses, you received an automatic acceptance into medical school. So that's different than some other postbacc programs or other bridge programs where even if you pass all your courses, you do really well, most of the time you still have to resubmit your application for an interview. So it doesn't mean you're guaranteed an interview. You may be considered a little bit more eligible for an interview than a regular applicant, but it's no guarantee. And so I didn't like the thought of that. So I didn't apply to other postbaccs or bridge programs because of that factor. I wanted something that was a little more guaranteed, so I was like, I apply to Pathways, and I'll apply to medical school directly, because I wanted to save time. That was one thing, and I also didn't want to have unnecessary debt. If my end goal is medical school, I don't want to go do a program and not having a guarantee that I'll get into medical school. So something to think about. Here I am in medical school right now. I just finished taking STEP recently. That was a whirlwind. That's all I have to say. Oh God. I'll make another video about my whole like STEP studying experience. It was definitely an experience. Yeah, I had like different factors that most medical students may not deal with when they're studying for STEP. I mean, of course I'm a mom, so that makes it a little more difficult, but there was like some like health factors that came into play. So I'll tell that story another time. But yeah, so that program was really great. The Pathways program that I mentioned, it was really nice to do that program. The great thing about it is it's kind of like you get to try out medical school. And I like that because if there's sometimes students, they'll start medical school and they realize this is not for me, right? So you do two blocks of medical with the actual first year medical students where you're in that program, and you're doing the exact same course medical students are doing. The only thing you are not doing are some of the group discussions that are outside the lectures. So that's the only thing you're not doing. You do your own version of those though, just with your group, just with your master's group. And so it's really cool to do that. You actually get resources to start studying for step 1 early, which is really nice. You get a learning specialist. you have access to tutors, and the tutors are actually individuals who have already went through the Pathways program, and they're medical students now. And they come back and they help you learn the concepts you need to learn to pass your courses. The also great thing about that program is the time you have more time to actually breathe when you're outside of your medical school courses compared to when you're actually in medical school. And I think that's actually necessary because you're learning how the best way to study in that environment. The way I studied prior to medical school is very different than how I studied when I was in medical school, and I'll do a different video on that. So that experience was really great, and I actually felt like I had enough time to, work out, take care of my daughter, hang out with friends every now and then, and so it was a really nice balance. Medical school, you'll learn how to do that balance. It's a little more difficult, but you'll learn how to do it. And you also got to preview a course called doctoring that we do in medical school. So it was nice to go into the doctoring course already knowing some of the content. So, I didn't struggle as much as I probably would have if I didn't know that content. And yeah, so that's basically my journey. Thank you so much for spending time with me today and allowing me to share my experiences with you. Please subscribe to my channel right below. Also, if you have questions, leave them in the comments section. I will get back to you as soon as possible. Thanks. Bye.